going to have our little 8-minute Bible study, and I want to share something with you. The new moon in Israel was seen, I think, of Sunday night, which was at the end of March 30th. After sundown, which means March 31st, was actually Abib the 1st. And so if you count 14 days, this coming Sunday will be the 14th day. Now, that's the day that they would be offering up an animal sacrifice if they had the temple up and running. That would be the day they'd offer up the sacrifice. Jesus ordained the communion ordinance on the eve of the 14th. So if Sunday is the 14th, we're going to be having our Passover communion service this coming Saturday night, just after sundown, which will be just after 8 o'clock. But we're going to be having a typical church service at 6 o'clock. And I want to invite all of you to tune in, or if you can be here in person.
Don't forget to tell them about the intermission in between services.
Okay. But I'd like to invite all of you to view us. Or if you're in person, if you live within 50-mile radius, try to be here in person. I just got off the phone today with one of our graduates, and I haven't seen she and her husband in, I think, maybe a few years, but they're planning on coming this coming Saturday evening. So 6 o'clock will be the actual time of the service, and then that will go just an hour. Then we have an intermission between 7 and 8 o'clock where we can fellowship, and you can get reacquainted with some of the people here. If you're watching online, there will be an intermission. Just tune back in at 8 o'clock. We won't be recording that intermission. So we'll go from 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock. This is Eastern time. And then we'll be off for an hour. Then we'll come back on at 8 o'clock Eastern time, and we'll only go to 9 o'clock. And we're going to do what they did on that night. Please be with us at 6. Let me tell you why. Because that sermon is going to be about what the new covenant is about, and what it's going to explain the communion. I'll take almost a whole hour just to explain the communion that we're going to be having, and what does it mean, and what did Jesus mean when he said, "Here, drink this blood." This wine, which represented his blood. What do you mean? So be sure to be with us then. Now, by way of introduction to the Passover service this coming weekend, I want to read you a verse out of the book of Micah, which, by the way, this is Thursday night. We're having our bachelor's class here. We're going to be reading the book of Micah tonight. But I want to read you just one verse. Micah chapter 5 and verse 2. This is a prophecy about the coming of the Messiah. And it says, "But thou, Bethlehem, Ephratah." Now, there were two different Bethlehems in Palestine. And this is the one that Jesus was born in. This was the Bethlehem. And somehow Micah knew about it. Now, if you look at the date in your Bible at the top of the margin, mine says 710 BC. How did he know 700 years before the birth of Jesus, the city he'd be born in? Now, listen to this. "But thou, Bethlehem Ephratah, though thou be little among the thousands of Judah, yet out of thee shall he come forth unto me," to God, "that is to be ruler in Israel." Now, David was born in Bethlehem, and he was a ruler, but I don't know that there was any other king born in Bethlehem until the King of Kings was born in Bethlehem, and that's who he's talking about. Now, listen to the rest of it. "Out of thee shall he come forth unto me that is to be ruler in Israel, whose goings forth have been." Now, our goings forth is when we started. My goings forth are from the mid-20th century. And maybe I'll live out my life all the way through the 21st century. Wouldn't that be nice? I'd be well over 100 years old, 150 years old if I can do that. But my goings forth only go back to the 20th century. My grandfather, his goings forth were from the 1800s, both my grandfathers. But the man born in Bethlehem, the man who is to be the ruler over the entire world, where did he start? Notice, "whose goings forth have been from of old, from," talk about old, "from everlasting." It does not say from ancient times. That would suggest that he was actually created at some time in the past. His goings forth are not from the 20th century or the 1st century, or just 4 BC when scholars tell us he was born. Jesus' goings forth are from everlasting. Now, this same word, I've looked it up in Hebrew, is translated over 60 times as everlasting, but it's translated over 270 times as, you ready for this? Forever. Jesus is just like God the Father in one very important aspect. God the Father never had a beginning, right? And if one person, now, how in the world could he never have a beginning? That's one of the questions I have for Christ. When I see him in the millennium, if he'll give me 10 minutes of his time, it may take 10 hours, but I'm going to ask him, how has God the Father and you, both of you, have existed from everlasting and you never had a beginning? I mean, I can kind of wrap my mind around the idea that starting here and going forward, I might live for all eternity, and I'm going to, John 3:16 says. But wait a minute. Not only is God living for eternity into the future, he has already lived for eternity into the past. He never had a beginning. 100 trillion eons ago, God existed, but if God the Father existed, so did his Son, Jesus Christ, the one that we know, the second member of the Godhead who came to this earth. And he's going to come back and he's going to rule the world for 1,000 years, minimum. And then God the Father is coming down here. Jesus will still be ruling, but now God the Father himself will also be here. So who is it that died on Calvary's cross? Now let me digress. There are people say it wasn't a cross, it was just an upright stake. That's how the Greeks did it. But years and years ago, when I obtained the Ante-Nicene Fathers, I read people who had actually seen crucifixions, and they described how Jesus was crucified. He was crucified on a cross, and at that time they took the cross piece and they put it on the top like a capital T. But although some of them may have done it differently, it doesn't matter. It was a cross. Get over it. People say, well, it's a pagan symbol. Doesn't matter. He still died on a cross. Okay, so let's not worry. The Jehovah's Witnesses call it the torture stake. That's just silly. The devil wants us to get our minds off the fact that the second member of the Godhead came to this earth to die in our place. That's why you need to be with us this Saturday night. Cancel all your other appointments and be with us. And even if you don't understand the Passover, if you don't understand this Passover communion, listen to it. Be with us at 6 o'clock at Eastern time. Usually I tell you 10:30 Saturday mornings, but this coming Saturday, we're going to meet at 6 o'clock. And I want you to hear that message. I've been working on it today, so be sure to be with us. All right, so I'm out of time now. So this coming 6 o'clock, be with us to understand what this Passover communion means. And then at 8 o'clock, wherever you happen to be, when the sun sets for you, you can take the bread and the wine too, if you can, wherever you happen to be in the world. Be blessed.